What is up, guys? Rick Hackus here, and welcome to the Rick Hackus podcast, or as I've cleverly named, the PodKack. And this is going to be episode 2, and today's main topic is going to be, will you buy Destiny 2? And it's going to be a very interesting topic, and actually, unlike last time where I just did the entire thing solo, I've actually got a guest with me today with OKC Connor.
Hello.
Okay, well... And his channel is going to be linked in the description of this video. And again, we're just going to be discussing, that's our main topic, but first, just talking about some channel news and channel discussion. The first thing, as always, none of you jerks follow me on Twitter, and I actually, okay, Connor, am I funny on Twitter? Because we actually got some verification.
You're pretty funny.
Thank you. So it's not just me rambling, I'm hilarious, I'm pretty funny on Twitter, you can quote that. And you guys should definitely follow it. It's also just the best place for channel information and channel news. Sometimes YouTube screws up with getting videos to subscribers. Like if you're a subscriber, sometimes YouTube just doesn't show you the video. I'm sure you guys have all experienced this. Whereas Twitter seems to be pretty flawless with actually informing people when stuff is happening. I have it linked so that if I upload a video, you will be notified by Twitter. In any event, we're going to move on to the main topic, which is about Destiny. Now, I actually recently, at the time of recording this, they aren't out yet, but I made 2 videos that should be out by now. One called Why I Love Destiny, and the other called Why I Hate Destiny. And they came out at the same time yesterday, and they're talking about, the plight of the Destiny fan, and kind of, on the one hand you love it, on the other hand you hate it, and it's just a love-hate relationship that I hope you guys can enjoy those videos, because I think it kind of embodies what a lot of people were feeling, and have felt as Destiny fans, and that works in perfectly with today's topic. Are you still enough of a fan to want to buy Destiny 2? And that's the question we're going to be asking ourselves. So Connor, I'm going to ask you, what is your history with the Destiny franchise? Like, when did you first play it, all that stuff?
Okay, well, whenever I first bought it, it was about 2 weeks after it came out, and I've been a big fan of it ever since. I mean, I loved all the DLCs, everything that's came out that has really kept me going, until the most recent DLC, Taken King. Like, at first, it was a really good DLC, don't get me wrong. Like, everything they put in, it was great. But then it just got dry really fast, and I don't think any other DLCs have really had this problem besides Taken King. And
which is weird. I was gonna say, which is weird because Taken King was the biggest offering. It had the most actual content, and yet I would, slightly have to agree with you. I mean, yes, we both, played the hell out of this, out of the Taken King when it first came out. Like, you probably got your money's worth just in terms of hours played, but then it just seemed to hit this wall and became pretty boring pretty fast, even though, again, it offered the most content.
Yeah, and the problem is that we aren't getting anything. I mean, I know they're coming out with a Valentine's event, which I have no idea what that holds and what's going to be in that.
Yeah, all that is team doubles. As far as I know, it's just team doubles, and that is essentially it.
Yeah, the community doesn't want that, at all. What we want is, new DLC, like they promised us. Didn't they tell us that we'd be getting free DLC before Destiny 2 came out? Isn't that what they said?
Well, they are kind of treating team doubles as free DLC. Like, they're treating Sparrow Racing as kind of free DLC, and I talked about this in the Why I Hate Destiny video, kind of talking about how, I think there's this big disconnect between what Bungie thinks we need and what we actually need. And what we actually need is actually probably simpler stuff for Bungie to implement. Just, diversity, changes to the weapon system, adding Hawka scout rifles, adding Omelon auto rifles. I made videos on those. Adding a new weapon rarity, just kind of increasing the diversity of the game through the loot system. Adding a new gun type, like adding SMGs, would probably do way more for replayability and just wanting to play the game and trying out all these new guns than adding any sort of game mode would.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And the thing is that these game modes that they give us, they might be fun for maybe a couple days, but they get old really fast. It's not something you can come back to and play over and over. And that's one main problem I have with this, is that whenever they give us these events or DLC events or whatever you want to call them, they don't they aren't good. Like, they're good for about a couple days and then just get old immediately, and it just aggravates me because we're not getting like what we essentially paid for with the transactions.
I totally agree with that in the sense of Sparrow Racing, and I've always actually said that I have never, even though Sparrow Racing, isn't necessarily for me, there is some times playing Sparrow Racing I had a lot of fun, and I think that adding Sparrow Racing, I've always kind of defended it as not a terrible idea. Some people really did like Sparrow Racing. It was really different, but it totally suffered from the fact that, and I think most people, even the people who enjoyed it, would have to kind of side with the fact that it got very stale very quickly. And I think part of the reason is because 2 maps was just not enough. And I think that I would be willing to wait an extra month to have it launch with 4 or 5 maps, where it actually would have a degree of replayability. But because you're playing 2 maps over and over and over and over and over again, and because, it's Destiny matchmaking, so it was really 1 map 5 times, and then the next map 10 times, it got so stale so quickly.
Yeah, I know, and if they would have added more maps, I feel like Sparrow Racing would have gone a lot better, and it would have lasted a lot longer than it did. Like, more people would have came back to play it, and more people would have had more fun playing it. The fact that there was only 2 maps completely kills the diversity fact that they could have had 5 or 6 maps. They could have even had 7 or 8. I mean, the options they had with this were so big, and they only added 2 maps, which really surprises me because most of the time I figured they would actually try to go big with these DLC events because we did pretty much pay with them with the transactions, and I figured they would at least make them somewhat good by adding some diversity to them, and they just didn't, and it's killer. It just annoys me so much.
But we've got to now move on to, will we buy Destiny 2? Are all of these issues enough to make us not want to buy Destiny 2? And I'm going to say for myself right off the bat, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys, I'm going to be completely honest, is that I'm 100% buying Destiny 2. I'm 100% buying Destiny 2, and the reason being is because I'm a YouTuber. People don't realize this, I think, that you're watching your favorite YouTuber having tons of fun on a game, and they may not even like that game that much, or they're playing it with friends for a week, and that often, especially with kind of Let's Play channels, they get this game, they play it for a week, and then they dump it and they never play it again, and all of these people buy it because they see them having fun at it and are like, oh, this must be a fantastic game. But you've got to understand, for a YouTuber, it's a little bit different. The investment, you're investing $60 in Destiny 2 or $70, however much it is. I'm probably going to make that money back just making a few, even if it's terrible. Firstly, I owe it to you guys to get Destiny 2, to tell you guys, the reason my channel exists is so I can buy it, play it, and tell you guys if it's good or bad, right? I'm sure Connor would agree. That's just part of the... obviously, it's not like I'm just going to completely ignore it. I'm going to have to tell you guys if it's good or not. But again, I'm making my investment back. So I look at buying games differently. And it's something that you got to understand about YouTubers is I know that there's a lot of people out there to $60 to them. It's not an investment. It's just purely they're buying the game. They're not going to see any return on investment. They're not going to see any money back, right? So it matters a lot more to them.
Yep. And I personally am, of course, going to buy Destiny 2. Destiny was my most favorite game, and I probably have more hours played on Destiny than I have any other game I've ever played. I mean, it's definitely in the top 3 favorite games I've ever played, and all games get dry at a point. There's always a point where games have no content and they're kind of going slow. I mean, it's kind of the same with YouTube, how some games don't do very well on some videos. I mean, it's just how everything works. I know in Destiny 2, they're going to come back strong. From this drought that we have with really not anything to do in Destiny right now, in Destiny 2 they're going to come back stronger than ever. I guarantee you they're going to add more classes, more weapon types, and all different kind of things, and they're going to have a lot of variety in the game and a lot of good DLCs hopefully to come with Destiny 2.
So you say that. I'm going to challenge you a bit on that. So you think that Bungie is really going to pick up their game with Destiny 2?
Yeah, I think that they're going to really pick it up and come back from this drought.
That's a fair opinion, but what evidence would possibly put you in that notion? Because if anything, what just got released days ago was Bungie admitting that they completely lied to the Destiny community again, and they screwed up matchmaking. They made it so that matchmaking didn't prioritize connection. It was skill-based matchmaking, which again everyone kind of knew. But we asked Bungie again and again and again, hey, what's the deal? Why is PvP suddenly laggy as hell? And they kept saying nothing's different. And then finally a few days ago they're like, oh, just kidding, we completely ruined matchmaking, that's why everything's fucked up. And that stuff like that, it makes me very worried for Destiny 2. Is Bungie is treating Destiny as some sort of massive psychology experiment. Like, how much shit can we put these morons through before they finally give it up? Like, the buffs and nerfs have been terrible, right? Like, every time they make a buff and nerf, it makes no sense. Like, they'll be like, all right, this gun type was, a little bit overpowered. We nerfed it into the ground. You're never going to be able to use it again. Or just like nerfing fusion rifles again and again and again, like shit like that. So the sad thing is, like, it doesn't really seem like they're learning their lesson.
Yeah, and I feel like they need to learn from their mistakes. Like, they've lied to the community a couple times, and like you said, all the buffs and nerfs, they've completely just destroyed, like, all the weapon classes. Like, every single thing that they've done to the weapons have made it to where there's always going to be a couple weapon classes that are at the top and a couple that are at the bottom. There's not just going to be, like, they're all pretty even, and you can do really good with any gun you use. Like, for example, like, if any of you have played Modern Warfare 2, that was probably one of the best balanced games I've ever played. I mean, all the guns were pretty overpowered in that game, in my opinion, but it worked. I mean, there's people to this day who still go back and play Modern Warfare 2 because it was such a good balanced game, and it was so good, like, all around, and it was just a really good game, in my opinion.
I feel like, it's almost as if, Bungie will have it put in front of them where the meta, basically, it's like one thing is overpowered. It's like, okay, guys, pulse rifles or slightly overpowered or something, or like everything's good and like one thing needs a buff, like buff auto rifles just a tiny bit and we're good to go. And then they'll just try to rebalance everything. They're like changing every single gun type, and it's just completely unnecessary half the time. Like, they won't let things, it's like they have the problem issues, which they always address the problem issue, but then they like address all the stuff that no one was asking for. They're like, we nerf fusion rifles again, even though literally no one was asking us to do that. And I think your Modern Warfare 2 example is like kind of valid with the fact that Modern Warfare 2 and every Call of Duty game, it seems that they just like they do the actual problem stuff. And Black Ops 3 right now, it gets like buffs and nerfs constantly, like every few weeks even. They're like getting buffs and nerfs. So it's like, this gun's overpowered, we nerfed it a little bit. This gun's underpowered, we buffed it a little bit. And they just keep changing, and the game keeps evolving. Whereas with Destiny, I don't understand why they have to roll out these like big, massive updates that like, and it's so far in between these updates that they just let the meta completely fall to shambles and people like quit the game before they finally address it.
Yeah, I know, and there was actually a time span in Destiny to where hand cannons completely ruled the game. If you used a hand cannon, you were bound to do good if you actually knew what you were doing. And I think this was, what do you think this lasted for? Maybe 2 or 3 months?
It wasn't even hand cannons. It was basically just the 3 exotic hand cannons were really the problem children. The other hand cannons were like pretty balanced, but then they nerfed all hand cannons.
Yep. And like the Thorn and the Last Word and the Hawkmoon, like they were just so overpowered at a point to where they, like, so many people quit playing. Like myself, I got so annoyed playing Trials of Osiris and seeing Thorn, Last Word, Hawkmoon constantly. Like, I never came across someone using an auto rifle or a pulse rifle or anything else besides hand cannons, and it got really
and in the recent meta, it was the same thing except for pulse rifles. But we're kind of straying off topic. So again, we have all these problems. We have, you said, oh, for sure they're going to fix other problems. Yet you've seen them fail and fail and fail and fail. So what gives you hope for Destiny 2?
Well, I believe in the fact that people can repair from their mistakes that they made in the past, and this comes from personal experience of my own, and I feel like they're going to really come back with Destiny 2. Like, whenever Destiny first came out, it was a really good game. I mean, everything, like, they had it going for them. Bungie did a really good job creating the game. Everything was doing well, and I feel like in Destiny 2, that it'll just be an all-around balanced game. Like, I'm hoping that they will learn from their mistakes and take on the adaptation of like Call of Duty and how they completely just every single week in and out balance all their weapons so the game evolves and new weapons become good, new weapons become bad. It's just all balanced, and I feel and I hope that Destiny will do that. Plus, I hope that Destiny 2 will also include some new classes. I really want to add some more variety besides the Hunter, Titan, and Warlock, and I'm hoping that they will be able to do that.
So basically you're taking the position of you're just being an optimist, essentially saying, look, Bungie, yeah, they fucked up Destiny a little bit, but hopefully they'll learn from their mistakes. They've had, Rick Hackis in their ear for the past year, bitching them out every time they do something fucking stupid, so they're probably a little bit more wary of their mistakes.
Yeah, and I've seen tons of your videos about how, you've complained about a lot of stuff, and everything you complain about is completely right. I go down in the comment section of those videos, and I see everyone agreeing with you, because the problem that you're stating in the video is 100% true. I don't know if Bungie listens to you or not, but I think they should, because they need to listen to the community more and realize all the problems that they have, like with the buffs and the nerfs and the matchmaking and the lag and everything. They just need to fix it. They need to take it from a community standpoint of what everyone is saying, and they need to just take it and then fix all the problems. Everything, they need to just balance everything in Destiny 2, and I'm hoping that they will do that, because if they don't, I feel like the game will not do near as well as Destiny, the first game, actually did.
Yeah, and I think that it's also important to note that, Destiny 1, even though there was some definite fun to be had when it first came out, just because there's so much to do, it did go through development hell, and it had to redo a bunch of stuff a year before it came out, and additionally, they took a bunch of stuff out of it for the DLCs. That was not, it turns out, as good of an idea. And that kind of led to it getting a little stale for a lot of people. But, hopefully Destiny 2 won't have these problems. Yes, they might get greedy with the DLCs again, but they hopefully haven't had to remake everything, a year before it came out. So they'll have a little bit more time to get things right, I hope. But I think you can feel free to add on to this, Connor. But the position I'm taking is, I already said, yes, I'm getting Destiny. Of course I am. It's basically, it's what I do. However, I would say to you guys, we're talking about Destiny 2, and we just start rambling about the problems of Destiny 1. So I think it's really important, I would say, to just wait a little bit. Wait for the reviews. Just wait, because you know what? It turns out with Destiny 1 that the people that waited, the people that didn't jump on to the Destiny hype train, actually, I think, kind of got the better deal. They were able to buy the legendary edition that was $60, so the price of a game, and it came with the base game and all the DLCs and the Taken King. Unfortunately, they still haven't upgraded the past DLCs, so they're still irrelevant, which is super dumb at this point. Still, but they still could play through it. They can still play the Vault of Glass. Yes, the stuff you get is going to be pretty useless outside of PvP, but they still get to experience it. And so the same thing could happen with Destiny 2. The people who wait could be the ones that actually get rewarded, because Destiny did get better and better and better up to a certain point. I think a little bit after the Taken King, where it started to go downhill. And then I think that's also probably noted to where the development team significantly switched their resources onto Destiny 2. Once the Taken King was out, I think a lot of people, a lot of resources went and switched over to focusing on Destiny 2.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think one big mistake Bungie made was not remaking the old raids. There's so many people in the community that want this, and if they did do this before Destiny 2 came out, they would probably bring back so many people that completely left the game. There's a lot of people that just completely left the game and stopped playing it, but if they brought back the old raids, they'd completely bring back a huge part of the original Destiny fan base.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Destiny 2. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be saying, why, you buy Destiny 2 if you're interested in Destiny, right? And if you haven't played Destiny in 6 months or longer, or a year, you're probably not going to be super on the hype train of Destiny 2. You probably don't give a damn. And we don't know what Destiny 2 is going to be competing with, aside from it's probably going to be competing with a new Call of Duty, whatever that's going to be. But fuck, if they take more than 2 years, just hypothetically, probably not, but hypothetically, they're competing with a new Elder Scrolls game or whatever. Let's just say, for argument's sake, there's going to be a lot of people, if there's a new Elder Scrolls game, who are not going to give two shits about Destiny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so Bungie could do a lot of help for itself in selling, in motivating people to buy Destiny 2 if they, bring people back, if they put people in good spirits. So if they come out and they say, look, we're updating all the raids and stuff, they're going to bring a lot of people back to the game, and then people are going to be playing it, they're going to have it fresh in their mind for when they announce, and then they can announce Destiny 2, and then the hype train will start to build. But imagine if they announce Destiny 2 like tomorrow, but whenever you're watching this video, pretty much, unless it's like super far in the future, but essentially if they announce Destiny 2 with the state of the game right now, I don't think it would get a lot of hype, because there's a lot of negativity around Destiny right now, especially with this whole matchmaking thing that just came out, and them saying, oh, sorry, we fucked you over for like months and months because our stupid matchmaking system didn't work, and we should have known after like 1 week. People's animosity towards this game is huge, and they're not going to be like running to go pre-order Destiny 2 because they're in a super bad mood about Destiny.
Yeah, and there's one game that's coming out that is definitely going to be competing with Destiny 2, and that's The Division. I know
That's
a lot
true.
of
That's
people
coming out
are
spring.
very
Yeah,
excited
yeah.
about that. And I already know that game is going to do very well. Most of the Tom Clancy games, they do good. They're all pretty good games in my opinion, and I think The Division, the way that they made it around the loot system and everything, it's going to be a very good game, and it's definitely going to compete with Destiny 2, so I think they need to drive back the fan base a little bit by adding more content in Destiny, so that whenever Destiny 2 comes out, there will be more hype built around it, more people will buy it and be wanting to play it compared to being played like the other new games, more like Call of Duty Black Ops 3 when the new DLC comes out, and The Division, and all these new games coming out are going to have to compete with Destiny 2. So hopefully Destiny 2 actually does something good and brings the fan base back so that they can actually play the game and not have and not be playing other games compared to just playing Destiny.
Yeah, I think that, if I was to offer a guess, I would say that Destiny 2 is officially revealed, or at least we'll get some sort of gameplay trailer in E3. This year's E3, so E3 2016, they'll have a gameplay trailer. It'll abandon the old gen consoles, which was needed, and they'll try to start the hype train. But like we've just talked about, it's a double-edged sword, and on the one hand, they obviously want to use the resources to make Destiny 2 and make it good, in fairness to them. On the other hand, again, like we've talked about, they can't leave Destiny in an utter shambles and then announce Destiny 2, right? So many people are upset at the state of the game right now. They're not going to be running to go pre-order Destiny 2, and so they're in a difficult position. I think the easiest thing would just be to update the fucking old content. They already have it on the disc. They just update it, and then they change the attack of all the weapons, except for maybe the Black Hammer because there's the exotic version of that. Whatever, just don't include it. Who cares? There's pretty simple solutions to these problems, and then that'll bring a lot of people back, get a lot of people playing, and then kind of build the hype train from there.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that they will do this, and I honestly don't think they will, to be honest. I really hope they do.
I don't think they will either. That's the sad thing. It makes complete sense, but I don't think they'll do it.
Yeah, and everybody wants them to is the thing, and they really need to start listening to the community, or else Destiny 2 is going to be a bust if they do not start listening to the community and taking the problems from them and fixing them as soon as possible. If they did that, Destiny would not be dead right now. It would be a game like it was played whenever it first came out. There would still be a lot of people playing it, but with all the problems that it has right now, it's not very good, and the future of Destiny 2 isn't going to look good if Bungie doesn't step up their game and start listening to the community and fixing the problems that they have.
Yep, I absolutely agree. So I think our consensus, correct me if I'm wrong, for Destiny 2, will you buy Destiny 2? I think we're both buying it because, we're YouTubers. It makes sense. But for everyone else, I think, again, waiting seems a little bit better. At least wait for the Rick Hackers video. That's the video y'all can trust about whether Destiny 2 is good or not. And, again, wait for the reviews, seriously, because I think a lot of, the Destiny 1 reviews were actually pretty negative. They're 6.0s and stuff, and I already bought the game at that point, for goodness sakes, and it was just kind of outing Destiny for being very competitive. It was too much of a grind, all of that stuff, which over time got fixed in some proportions. You didn't have to farm for resources, you didn't have to farm for spin metal for 4 hours, right? All of that stuff got fixed, so it really did benefit those who waited. The people who waited, even if they bought into Destiny when the DLCs were already out, like they bought into Destiny, maybe like when the Dark Below is kind of launching, and they have now 2 raids to do with the, they don't have to wait however long for the second raid. They have 2 raids to do, and they don't have to farm for spin metal, and the game's at a little bit of a better state. So again, we're just going to say, be cautious, wait for the reviews, and don't throw your money at this game, because there's been so many problems with Destiny 1, especially with, the community. I mean, talking about, developer promises, how much promises did Bungie break, with Destiny 1? You can go back and watch, in the like PS4 vid docs and stuff, you can hear a developer going, yeah, you can go from the moon to to Mars to whatever to Saturn. He's like, to Saturn, you can go to Saturn. And then Saturn was not until the Taken King, right? And it wasn't even really Saturn, it was the Dreadnought. And they mentioned Venus, and you could see gameplay, like the whole cut content controversy. I'm just saying, like, that's gonna come back to bite them, I think, for Destiny 2, right?
Yep.
Because they're going to be revealing all this stuff, and everyone's first instinct is going to be going, is that actually on the disc, or is that DLC? And that's a legitimate thing to ask, because that's exactly what happened with Destiny 1.
Yeah, and I think you're completely right, and I'm hoping that they won't do that. Like, I'm hoping that it won't come back to bite them in the butt, but I feel like it's going to very badly, because they were giving us all these promises, and let's hope they don't do this for Destiny 2, because let's say that they promise us the ability to play on Pluto in Destiny 2, and it doesn't come out until 3 DLCs after the game has already been released. Like, they can't do that. They have to give us what they promise us during, I'm assuming, the E3 reveal of Destiny 2. And I'm hoping that they give us some new classes, like I said, and some more weapon varieties, just to make the game better and more fun for people to play.
They better make sure everything that they reveal, if they're like, hey, there's going to be 4 classes or 5 classes, there's going to be this many plants, they better fucking make sure that all of that stuff is on the disc. Because if they have gameplay of Pluto or gameplay of another class, turns out it's a DLC, that is going to turn off a lot of people. A lot of people, because a lot of people still have that bad taste in their mouth from the whole DLC controversy, and being able to glitch into, the ship, the fallen ship, the Trader's Canal, whatever it's called. You could glitch into that ship that was in the House of Wolves in the original vanilla Destiny game, like it was on the disc, right? And everything was rendered and everything was good to go. So people just have that bad taste in their mouth, and Bungie's really going to have to tread carefully. So what they're going to have to do, again, is they're going to have to do something awesome for the Destiny community, so we don't go off of Destiny 1 with a super bad taste in our mouth, and they need to keep their bloody word this time. They need to lowball it, if anything. It's like, they don't mention Pluto, and then when the game comes out, there's actually Pluto. Stuff like that, right? Because the community, I think, is extra wary of their promises. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up. So thank you to Connor for being my guest here.
Yep, no problem.
And again, his channel is going to be linked in the description. So I hope you guys enjoyed PodKack number 2. And remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a good day.